Hey everybody, welcome to Always Bored, Never Boring, and a special double issue edition of my series looking at Warhammer 40,000 Conquest magazine. Today we will be looking at issue 27 and 28 of the Hachette Partworks magazine, Warhammer 40,000 Conquest, which is made in association with Games Workshop. For people who don't know, this is a weekly magazine priced at $7.99. Every week you get a magazine which introduces aspects of Warhammer 40,000 as a game and also as a hobby, with painting and miniatures building and things like that. And you also get some Games Workshop products on the cover. Before we talk about these particular issues though, I want to talk about the fact that I am a subscriber. As a subscriber to the magazine, I don't get my issues weekly. I get 4 issues once a month in a bundle. With my latest bundle, I got this. This is a Warhammer 40,000 Conquest binder. When you subscribe to Warhammer 40,000 Conquest, you get a binder as one of your free gifts. This wasn't a free gift. When I opened my package and saw this, I thought, oh, they've given me another binder. But when I looked at my invoice, the total amount that I was charged for this particular bundle didn't add up to 4 times $7.99. There was an additional value on there. It wasn't separated out, it wasn't listed as in an itemized bill, it was just an additional amount on the bill. And yes, they had, without my consent, added a binder to my subscription, which they charged $7.99 for. I didn't want any more binders. I certainly didn't want to pay $7.99 for them, especially as an additional bonus. They sat it on top of the plastic miniatures in the box, and it's all scarred to hell on the front again, which is something they did with the art book in a previous package, and obviously they haven't learned a single thing from that particular faux pas. So yeah, this is a warning to anybody subscribing to the Warhammer 40,000 Conquest magazine. When you subscribe, you get subscribed into receiving these binders as well. There was never any mention of receiving binders as well. I knew they would be made available for separate purchase, but it never said that you would get them automatically. I certainly never had it any notification in last month's bundle that I would be getting one of these this month. And like I said, it wasn't on an itemized bill. So if I hadn't have actually noticed that the sum total I was charged for this particular bundle was greater than what I would normally be charged, I might have actually just thought this was a free gift that came with my subscription. So incredibly naughty on the part of Hachette Publishing. I have contacted them. They responded after a few days and said, if you want to be opted out of receiving future binders, you had to email them again. I emailed them again and said, yes, I want to be opted out of future binders. I'm complaining about the fact that I got this one that I didn't want. They didn't refund me for this one. I could send it back and get a refund, but as it is, I'm just going to keep this one. It's not worth the effort. But I have now been told that I've been opted out of receiving any future binders. So anybody who is a subscriber to the magazine or thinking of subscribing, if you're not keen on getting these binders, just double check your subscription and double check whether you're actually going to be receiving these or not, because I had no idea that I was tied into receiving these at regular intervals for additional payments. Anyway, that aside, that niggle aside, we're going to look at issues 27 and 28. Why are we looking at 2 issues together? Because these are the issues that bring you the Chaos RHINO. In issue 27, you got these 2 frames, the main body of the RHINO in beautiful Death Guard green. So that gave you the main shell. And then, in issue 28, you got these 2 frames. These 2 frames have the extra bits. They have all of the let's see if I can bring some of this out on camera for you. Have all of the trophy racks, all of the spikes with the heads of the enemies, heads of the Emperor's Finest skewered on there. So yeah, extra spikes, extra chains, extra bits and pieces, lots of chaos armor plating, ramming spikes, On this one, more spikes, hooks, spikes, skulls, spikes, some skulls, some spikes. This is actually that's not a skull. That is the head of a driver. But yeah, there's some spikes and some skulls, and yeah, it's all. And oh, here we've got, because this is a generic Chaos RHINO kit. It has emblems for all of the different Chaos gods, all of the different alignments, so that you don't have to build it as a Death Guard. You don't have to build it as a Nurgle Chaos RHINO if you don't want to. You know, you've got your coin emblems and everything else. But yeah, this is a generic Chaos vehicle. When this was sort of announced that you were getting the Chaos RHINO in the subscription, the Chaos RHINO wasn't actually available for sale. However, at the point that I'm filming this, the Chaos RHINO has come back on the Games Workshop store as a pre-order. It is up for pre-order now, and will be, if you watch this video on the day that I put it up on the internet, then it'll be available. It will actually be released tomorrow. It will be released on Saturday. So the Chaos RHINO has come back just as it's come back here. So there is an alternative way of getting this Chaos RHINO. Because obviously until a few weeks ago it wasn't available except for residual stock in third-party retailers. The actual price of a Chaos RHINO is £23.50. So it's split over 2 magazines. It's £7.99. So you're looking at a saving of £7.52. So, yeah, it's a good saving overall over what you would be paying if you were to buy it at retail. Of course, if you purchased it online, there you could get a discount, maybe as much as 20% off. But yeah, a saving of £7.52 is a pretty decent saving, and it's a very nice kit. And like I said, I don't have a Chaos RHINO at the moment. I don't have any rhinos at the moment, so I'm very happy to have one in my collection now. So, in terms of the magazines themselves, just in terms of the material you get on the front, the RHINO split across the 2 issues, good value, great value. So that's a good start, isn't it? But of course, you also get a magazine as well, or 2 magazines in this particular case. So we're going to have a quick look at what's going on in here. These magazines are always in the same format. They have like a fluff section at the start. So they've got all this stuff about... What's going on here? Armor rating 5, speed 6, firepower 3. This is Warhammer 40,000 top trumps. That's... I'm pretty sure they don't have stuff like that in the codexes. I think that's gearing, skewing more towards... These magazines do aim, obviously, at beginners and getting people into the hobby. And part of that is skewing slightly towards a younger market sometimes. So I think things like that kind of reminds me of looking at the back of football stickers and things like that, and seeing their speed rating and skill rating and things. So that's sort of kind of like skewing a little bit towards its target audience, which is fine. I've got no problem with that. Interesting that we're talking about this is the a regular RHINO. It hasn't been chaosified in this picture. Markings and heraldry. This is something that I mentioned in the Dreadnought issue previously, that they didn't include transfers and things like that, and we're definitely getting to a stage, I think, where having transfers and things included with the magazines would be a good idea. Would be a nice way to kind of add extra detailing. I don't necessarily think you need transfers for a Chaos RHINO, because it's a lot of the markings and things are actually included on the Chaos sprue that has all the skulls and spikes and everything else on there. So you are able to do that. I mean, this is more for a loyalist RHINO. But yeah, talking about all the different heraldry and things like that, it would be nice to, you know, I wanted them to include a transfer sheet with the Dreadnought the other week, and I'm hoping that at some point down the line it's something they might introduce. I don't know whether my doorbell came out in the audio there, but yeah, I was just distracted by some person knocking on my door trying to sell me something. So sorry for that little interruption, that little cut, but we are back. I've lost my train of thought. There's a RHINO, there's some heraldry, something about transfers. Moving on. Oh, okay, this is cool. It's got obviously the RHINO chassis and the different alternative ways in which it's used. We've got Vindicators, Whirlwind, Stalkers, Hunters, and Predators. That's cool. And then we move into the specifics of the RHINO as is for the Death Guard. And this is absolutely not what your RHINO will look like if you follow the painting guide. You can see here, if I can bring it in, they have used, you've got markings, extra Nurgle markings, and the chaos symbols and things on here, which again, if you're not going to freehand paint those on, at the moment there are no transfers or anything to do that with your own. But yeah, that's a completely different painting scheme to the one that they give you in the magazines, because obviously in the magazines they're going for a much more I don't know, traditional, I guess. I don't know if traditional is the right word. Much more traditional Death Guard colour scheme. Yeah, we got some stuff on the Death Guard Legions and the Chronicles of Virulence. Again, it's fluff. I'm not going to go into that in any great detail. That's a cool picture. That's a very cool picture. I like that. Obviously, Games Workshop. One of the things about this magazine is obviously you get a lot of Games Workshop art, and on the whole, Games Workshop art is fantastic. I'm a big fan of Games Workshop art in general. Not obviously every single piece, but a lot of it, and you do get. They don't skimp on the artwork in this magazine, which is pretty good. Okie dokie. And then we've got the How to Build Your Death Guard RHINO. And of course, at the moment, if you're getting this on a weekly basis, you've only got these two sprues at the moment. But this is a more complicated kit than this. I'm thinking now whether this might be the most complicated kit so far, and it probably is, because not only is it not easy build, it is going to be one that you require glue for, but it is also one that has customization options. It's one of the sprues where you're not going to use every single bit that's on the frame. There's going to be bits left over. There's going to be choices to make between how you put it together, what weapon options you use, because I believe there's multiple different weapon options on the frame. So this is probably the most complicated build yet. So it's quite good that you kind of get a whole issue to worry about building it before because they can put all the painting stuff in the next issue. For now, we've got some extra iconography. I can't remember whether they've used this iconography previously, but obviously they've got the marking yellow areas for where you're going to put glue, the no glue symbol for where you don't need to put glue, the choice of parts symbol, and then the variants. So this is a scale up slightly in terms of the complexity of the build, let's say that. And of course there's our clipper and glue safety, wouldn't want to miss that out. So this is your build guide, and like I say, this is they've used this yellow symbol to indicate where you're going to put glue. I personally would at least undercoat this on the frame before assembling it. It's something I do with bigger builds, with vehicles and things like that, and large pieces of things that have overlapping elements and things that are going to be more difficult to get into. It's like if you're going to build an assembly like this, if I can get that in the camera shot, it's going to be quite difficult to sort of paint in all the bits and pieces. So at least if you can get some base colouring on it before you put it together. That's how I handle these particular things. But there we go. That's what you end up with when the chassis is assembled. That's what you get with the first 2 frames that come with this magazine, and then you use the other frames to add the extra detailing. So what's it saying here? There are several ways to build the weapons, gear, and gunner. Read through all of the instructions before you choose how to build yours. Okay, so this is kind of, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Where in terms of having decisions to make, there's a potential bit of analysis paralysis here as you figure out what type of weapon you want to fit your RHINO with, and it doesn't look like they're giving you any guidance there. Let's just double check. This is my first look at it. I'm looking at it the same time as you guys, so it does warn you up here. You have several choices of how to build these pieces, so expect to have some leftover parts. That's actually a good point. I like the fact that they mention that you will have leftover parts, because if you're new to multi-part kits, you know, you don't want to get that situation. You know, when you put together a piece of flat pack furniture and there's a screw left over and you're a little bit concerned that you might have missed one. You don't want that when you're building your miniature. So it's nice that they actually warn you there will be some leftover bits. But I'm not seeing any guidance. Hold on. No matter which weapons you choose, don't worry. The data sheets you will have for playing with the RHINO includes rules for both the Combi Bolter and Havoc missile launcher. So they're giving you the data sheet they give you is going to have the Combi Bolter and Havoc missile launcher weapon combo. So is that what they're recommending you use? There are lots of options for assembling your RHINO, so you may be unsure of which to choose. If so, match the rules on the datasheet by equipping your RHINO with a Combi Bolter and Havoc missile launcher as shown. Cool. Okay. Happy with that. That's good. That's something that you don't necessarily get with... I mean, that's been situations with some of Games Workshop's boxed games, where things like Betrayal at Calth, Burning of Prospero, they don't give you any guidance on what is a good build option for playing with. And it can be a little bit intimidating when you've got massive frames of loads of different weapons and options and things like that. It's nice to know that they've basically said, we're going to give you a data sheet with these 2 weapons. If you want to do that, match up the weapons with that data sheet. You have other options if you want to, which you can either just do for aesthetic reasons, or if you want to hunt down the rules for those particular weapons, I guess you could do that also. But they are only going to be giving you the weapon details, rules for the Havoc launcher and the Combi Bolter, and they've used that as the build option. So that's cool. That's good stuff there. And then we have the last frame, the Chaos Symbols and Trophies. Oh, good. They're really, this magazine, I've mentioned it before, I'll mention it again. It does a really good job of introducing people to Warhammer 40,000, hobby gaming, painting, building, the works. I am incredibly impressed with the way that they have broken down the hobby and introduced sections to it. I mean, there's always things that I complain about, because, you know, I've got the kind of, nothing's perfect, and I always have to weigh up those pros and cons. But this is a good example where they've kind of they've not assumed anything from their readers. They have shown you that there are different iconographies, and then they have crossed out the ones that do not relate to Nurgle and Death Guard. That is fantastic, because it just means you're not going to get that situation where someone goes, well, can I use that symbol for my Death Guard RHINO? I don't know, because they've literally told you, no, don't use them. leave those on the frame. That's really good. That's a case of not assuming anything about your players, about your readers. I like that. And then we are into rules. What have we got here? So this is a another learning scenario. We've got the Space Marines in the center here, holding objectives. We've got the Nurgle bad boys advancing from both sides. Obviously, this mission isn't incorporating the RHINO, because bear in mind, at this stage, you don't have a finished RHINO. You've got half a RHINO. You've got a chassis with no detailing on it. So they've avoided using a mission that uses the RHINO, which is fine. It's just another scenario to play through. And there we go. So that's issue 27. And then issue 28 finishes the double. This gives you your other half of your kit, and I should imagine focuses quite heavily on painting. Oh, a little bit about Predators, the Predator battle tank. And again, with this armor rating, speed rating, firepower rating, top trumps style thing. I guess that's kind of a nice way to help people visualize how these tanks relate to each other, which ones are the big daddies of the battlefield. Well, that's cool. It's a nice little technical diagram showing all the guts of the machine. You even see the machine spirit in there somewhere. Yeah, stuff like Predator battle tanks. Again, it's the same structure as the other one, so you've got all the fluff at the start. Death on Damnos. Background, history, stuff about Mortarion. He's not very nice. So, and then we get into the painting guide. So, quite nice. It immediately shows you all the paints you're going to use. Shows you your assembled miniature. Like I say, they've obviously pre-assembled the whole thing before painting because of the way that the magazine put all the instructions first. But I would be tempted to have at least prepped and primed before getting to this stage. Might even have put at least the relevant base colours on all of the different sections before gluing it together, just to make life a little bit easier. And it is even listed which brushes you're going to be using. Cool and dandy. There we go. Base coating your RHINO. It says, Death Guard Green is the base coat for the entire model. There is a lot of surface area to paint, so take your time. There sure is a lot of surface area to paint, especially if you're using a diddy little brush. Use the large dry brush to paint the base coat, and then use a smaller brush to get into the details. Again, if you've pre-undercoated, then you know you've saved yourself a job there. You've saved yourself the hassle of fiddling around with a little brush. Applying lead belcher, and then we go into, you know, most of these painting guides. They follow the same basic structure. They base coat, they put on the base coats, then they add the washes. The most important thing about these painting guides are you get the really cool close-up pictures that show you exactly where the different colours are going. So I mean, even down to it's showing you up on here, like the exhausts on the engines of the RHINOs and things like that. It's doing a close-up under here, so you can see where there's little skull symbols that need to be gold on top of the ramming spikes. That's really good detailed painting guides. I think a lot of the painting guides here, I do think they do a good job of getting your miniatures painted to tabletop level and on the table as quickly as possible. And they always end up with a very clean, crisp look, which is quite nice. I mean, obviously, a lot of people then want to muddy it up. They'll want to splodge it with blood and mud and guts and glory. and dents and dings and paint scuffs, but the way that they are doing the paint guides at the moment is you end up with very crisp, precise, finished products, which look very nice. So here we go. That's what you end up with once you've followed the painting guide. If you're itching to take your models even further, future issues of Conquest will include more paints. We'll return to the Chaos Rhino then to add extra details and colours. So yeah, it's not a finished job, but it's certainly tabletop ready. It's certainly, you know, if you were to buy a pre-painted miniature or something, you're not going to get better than that. Very nice. And then we've got the rules. So we've got rules for transports, embarking on transports, driving around with you guys on board, disembarking at the other end, updated rules for our tank traps. These are the tank traps that I painted in one of my 10 Paints or Less series, which we got a few issues back. So we're getting an update on how those actually work in relation to vehicles. So if your model has the vehicle keyword and you move over a tank trap when advancing or charging, you must have the advance or charge distance. These rules replace those in Tutorial 22. So again, layering on the rules, layering on the complexities, just teaching you new things as we go. And then we have the data sheet, which has one of these, as you take damage, things get worse. And this time they've got the stats in the right order: move, ballistic skill, and attacks. So they've got it right this time. And again, blank page on the back, which I like, because I mean, when you rip out your data sheet, you don't want to rip out bits of your tutorials and things like that. And then we have a mission on mechanized warfare. So obviously, because the last issue didn't have a mission for your RHINO, this issue we do, and it's an armored assault. So what are we doing? We've got poxwalkers deployed in the corner, the Space Marines coming in from one edge, and we have the Blight Hauler, the Poxwalkers, a RHINO, and the Plague Marines against Intercessors, Hellblasters, and the Dreadnought and the Primaris Librarian. So we've got a RHINO versus a Dreadnought. So this is we've had the Blight Hauler miniature already, but now we've got more. So you've got the Blight Hauler and the RHINO against the Dreadnought. So you're getting some real mechanized warfare there. It's kind of upping the stakes a little bit. It's gone beyond that initial skirmishing of small groups of infantry. You're now getting some serious weaponry on the table. You've had your infantry, you've had your heroes. Now all the big machinery is coming out, and that's quite cool. That's a nice escalation of the way that the game plays out, and a nice escalation. It represents how people build their armies, doesn't it? Most people start with a few infantry units and a leader, then they'll add a few more units, and then they start adding in some vehicles and things, unless of course you're playing something which is vehicle heavy in the first instance, and you go for something which is, if you want to build a speed wow or something, then you go straight in for the vehicles. But yeah, so there we go. That is issues 27 and 28 of Conquest magazine. I am going to do a quick reveal of what we have got coming up next. We have... I'm going to try and do it without giving anything away. In the next issue, we have the Space Marine Officers. This is one of the frames from the Dark Imperium box set, and also the No Fear box set. So you're getting all of your leader, you're getting your big boss chap, you're getting your captain, and then you're getting your unit leaders as well, which go with previous sprues. So yeah, that's cool. That's kind of fleshing out units that have already been started. You're still missing one frame of miniatures for each of these guys, because that unit will still be missing 2 guys, that unit will be missing 2 guys, and he will be missing 1 guy as well. So those will come obviously in a future issue as well. But then we go to issue 30, and issue 30, we get more terrain. And this terrain in question, this is the there's a special riser pattern, ruins or something. Right, there you go, riser ruins but we will obviously talk about that at another time. For now, I'm going to do what I always do. I do a running total. The running total here represents the value of subscribing to the magazine, so the cost you pay to subscribe versus the retail price for if you were to buy everything from the cover of the magazine at retail. So that saving that you see on this pricing, that doesn't take into account other subscriber benefits such as free gifts, and it also doesn't take into account the cost of the magazine. But in terms of just buying the stuff on the cover versus buying the magazine subscription, those are your savings. I hope someone has found this interesting. As always, comments and queries below, and I will see you all again very soon. Bye bye everyone. Bye bye.